Into the Radius 2 has come to early access for Quest 3 and 3S. There's freaky creeps like these guys, eerie locations to explore, and new guns to manage and maintain. The first Into the Radius was one of my favourite Quest games, so today we're getting into why I'm excited for the sequel. This is Into the Radius 2 in early access on MetaQuest 3. As always, in the description is my official Meta affiliate code for an extra 10% off. So what are you doing in Into the Radius 2? This game is very story-light. It shines really in its addictive gameplay loop. Into the Radius is a unique world exploration, almost looter-shooter style single-player experience. You begin your adventure in a base camp where you can accept missions to retrieve items out into the wild, which consists of 3 large areas with their own flavour at the time of this early access. The plan is there's going to be many more added in the future, just like the first game. The beauty of this base camp is every item you collect has persistence in its positioning. That means you can organise your gear to your heart's content, and when you turn off the game and then return, your ammo boxes will all remain perfectly organised just how you left them. When venturing out into the wilderness, something strange and devastating has happened to the landscape. Citizens have been turned into ash statues, and the land teems with strange anomalies and creatures that can think of nothing tastier for lunch than your face. You better stock up on plenty of ammo, food, and health stims because, let me tell you, this game is not forgiving. First thing you'll notice is how awesome and creepy the enemies are. There are these strange elemental type creatures that roam the landscape, as well as humanoid type creatures that will shoot at you. All the enemies have really creepy audio when close, such as guttural noises to freaky young girls calling out like some horror movie. Most of the human-esque enemies resemble either policemen, hunters, or army soldiers that may have once dwelt in this land before all this mess. Check out these spawns, they look awesome. They're like a creepy venom symbiote, bundles of VHS tape, rubber tyre and sharp scissors. Anomalies now look far more interesting than the first game. Previous, most were static, didn't move, and even invisible till you got close. You'd spend your time throwing bullet casings around your environment to trigger them so you could gauge their whereabouts. This time round, we still have that mechanic, but the game will rely less on cheap invisible traps. Check out this blue lightning cube that eerily drifts through locations. I wouldn't want to stand in its way. There's brand new reflector anomalies, and these new metal debris traps that float in space. Everything just looks so much more alive. Those invisible reflector traps are now actually represented by these little bells that ring as you pass. Don't get too close to them, as let me tell you, they will fling you away, usually into one of the jagged bark-like traps. So guns and customization was one of the best parts about Into the Radius 1, and while it's here, it is somewhat simplified. As it stands, you can no longer stick cleaning rods down the barrels of guns to clean them. We just have the WD-40 and brushes to get the muck off the outside. Remember, this is early access, and it will come in good time. For those who have never played an Into the Radius game, you have to maintain and clean guns after use, or they'll start to misfire, jam, and break. Rarely will you find anything in pristine condition out in the wild, but finding these rusty relics, taking them back to camp, and then polishing them up is incredibly exciting and addictive. There's a massive host of pistols, rifles, shotguns, and machine guns in this sequel that are very fun to use, all with swathes of attachments such as lasers, suppressors, and sights. Back at camp, you can purchase modified versions that will usually have buffs over the stashed variants out in the wild, such as increased damage or reduced recoil. The guns themselves feel amazing to use. Listen to these gun sounds, everything sounds incredible. I think that Into the Radius 2 gets bullet speed and bullet drop really accurate. That time from when you pull the trigger to the satisfying thud as it hits its mark makes the guns really addictive to use and fun to shoot. So how are the overall graphics and performance? I think it's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment on Quest. I don't want to dunk on the visuals and performance too much, as mentioned, this is early access, and what we have here is still mostly solid. Graphics wise, everything has quite a grey haze to it, and it's laid on a little thick, and makes each scene feel like there's a lack of contrast. I think increasing the contrast could have the biggest impact in making this portable Quest version much closer to the PC. The resolution looks decent enough. The best improvement is the density of objects in the scenes. Check out this forest level and all the trees populating the area and interesting anomalies in the distance. They even have these dust particles that fill the air. Little things like that really bring the atmosphere to the game and are the heart and soul of Into the Radius. So I'm glad they made it in here. The art direction is super creepy. Check out these giant arms made of ash jutting out of the terrain. So the game runs okay. It's not amazing. I think there's definitely room for improvement. There are certainly regular hitches as you traverse the areas, and certain things will guarantee a hitch, such as hitting the ash statues of civilians that presumably lived in this area before it was torn apart by God knows what. Obviously, as this is clearly an early access title, all we can do is hope for improvements, and looking at the lineage of the first game, I think it's a safe bet to say the team have it in them to make this a wonderful game. I've yet to have a hard crash, which is a bit of a miracle, I guess. I've had some weird oddities, such as half the textures in the base camp turning into a rainbow display of colours. I'm pretty sure that it was a bug and not just the Radius playing its mind games on me, but nothing too crazy out in the wild. In conclusion, this is a must-have if you loved the first Into the Radius. If you thought it was just a fine game, not your favourite but you're interested in this sequel, it might be worth waiting till the dust settles a bit and some patches come rolling out. I guarantee you now, this game will play 100% better in half a year's time. So if you want to play the best experience of this game, I'd wait. Anyway, that's Into the Radius 2. My name's Dan. See ya!